Hi guys, welcome to Brandex Reviews and another edition of BXR Mailbag. Now it's been a while since I've done one of these and haven't really had that many submissions recently. In fact, the last one that was on there was from about a month ago because I haven't really been pushing, asking for submissions. So this one is again Marvel related. We do tend to do a lot of Marvel related ones here. I'm doing this one on my own, but there is a co-reviewer at Brandex Reviews, the core. If he's watching this, he has anything to add to this. There may be a follow-up to this, but I kind of doubt it anyway, because this is to do with a subject that neither of us are really that big experts in, and that is the Inhumans in the Marvel comics, and also what is being introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, there's going to be some quite good information on this, kind of from the horse's mouth as well, so it's not just me kind of talking about this. I've got some other bits of information to kind of insert in this, so hopefully there'll be something for you anyway that's of some substance. But anyway, here's the question. This is from Paul Cage, and following on from having seen Avengers Age of Ultron, he had this question.
Okay, so this question comes from Paul Cage, who, as you can see here, is a good mate of mine, and bollocks, hang on, I've got the wrong picture, that's the guy from Short Circuit. Yeah, here he is. Yeah, Paul Cage, great guy, and great person for sending submissions into Brandex Reviews, so here's a question anyway. In Avengers 2, we were introduced to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Given that they cannot be called mutants, it was said that they had been experimented on and enhanced by man, not genetics, as would have been in X-Men. Soon we will be introduced to the Inhumans. As these are seen as Marvel's answer to X-Men, would Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver fall in the same bracket and family almost as the Inhumans? Also, please explain a bit more about the Inhumans.
So, yeah, pretty good, really. It's a good point. There's a lot of kind of good aspects to this that a lot of people aren't really familiar with, so it's quite a good one to do a video about. So basically, what you've been asking is, you know, the Inhumans obviously coming up. This was something that was announced back in October of 2014, so over 6 months ago now. And the timescale of the films, the Marvel films that are coming out, has been kind of altered slightly with the Spider-Man franchise insertion into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which was announced back in February. So they announced the Inhumans film back in October, and then about, 3 or 4 months later, they then announced the Spider-Man film. Now, what that meant was the Inhumans film was going to come in between the two Avengers films, the two Infinity War films, one in 2018, one in 2019. So I think we were going to get an Avengers film in 2018, and in late 2018 we were going to have the Inhumans. But now, because of the Spider-Man, like I say, insertion into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we now have a Sony Spider-Man film, which is going to be canon. So they don't want to have too many films out, so it's kind of bumped a few films backwards by about 6 months. Inhumans being one of them. So from what I understand, the Inhumans film is now going to come after Infinity War Part 2. So that's the last film on the roster, basically. I know that wasn't your question, but I was kind of throwing that in there because it is relevant, because we haven't seen the Inhumans, as far as we're aware, anyway. I haven't introduced the Inhumans in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as such in the films. Cinematic Universe means the films, obviously cinematic. But there is a part of the Cinematic Universe which is television. For better or for worse, whether you like it or not, it's canon, and that is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series. Now, that has just recently finished its second series run, and we saw a hiatus over the winter holidays. Well, the whole of the winter, it wasn't just the holidays, it was, you know, Christmas holidays. It was like 3 months. From about December on to, I think it was late February, early March, I think. They split Series 2 into 2 halves. And at the end of that split, so back in December when they finished the first half of Series 2, they introduced the Inhumans in that. Now, I've done a video about that. You can learn more about the specifics of that, either by, watching the show, or by just looking up on the internet. Me and the Core did do a video about that, our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Series 2 review. But that was really, for all intents and purposes, the introduction of the Inhumans into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, I don't know exactly how it's going to be shaped, because they don't always follow identically in the films what we saw in the comics. Now, there's a number of examples of that. be it characters or just concepts or items, weapons, that kind of thing. For example, the Cosmic Cube that is the Tesseract in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the films. That is the Cosmic Cube, but that also serves as being one of the Infinity Stones. Well, in the comics, there is the Cosmic Cube, and there are the Infinity Stones. The two are very separate, but in the films, they're kind of together. So I could ramble about the Inhumans and say this is what they are, this is what's going to be in the upcoming film. I wouldn't necessarily be right in doing that because I don't know how close they're going to stick to this. In fact, I have reason to believe that there's going to be quite significant differences in what the Inhumans are in the comics and what the Inhumans are in the film. Now, I haven't read any of the Inhumans comics, but there is something I could recommend because I enjoyed it. So it's not just recommend it from a point of view of if you want to know more, but it's actually quite an enjoyable animated feature. I'll just show you what that is. This is available in the UK, so let's consult my library, my vast library of Marvel and DC DVDs, animated and films. That's this, the Inhumans. It came out to buy last year in the UK, and it's just called Inhumans. It's part of the Marvel Knights collection. Now, I've mentioned this before. And like I said, this is interesting to watch just from the point of view of, oh, they're making a film out of this. But it's also really entertaining as well. I really like the concepts of this. Now, Kevin Feige being the Marvel producer, the head of the whole thing, has elaborated on what the Inhumans are going to mean to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I seem to recall off the top of my head he said something about they've got a great social structure. I definitely got that from watching this. In fact, I'm going to roll that clip of him talking about that in a minute. But one example of what he's talking about when he says they've got a great social structure, what they do is they have these mutants and they kind of start out as, I guess, human-looking. And they're some kind of coming-of-age ritual thing that they do. They go into this mist, and when they come out of it, they are changed. They have become a mutant sort of thing, like the X-Men, kind of. And they are Inhumans. Now, in their social structure, what you become will contribute to the Inhumans' society. And what that means is you might become some kind of Inhuman that has the ability to fly. Now, if there is the need within this society to have somebody who flies, there will be somebody that becomes that. If they have somebody who can swim underwater, they will become that. There will always be somebody who can do that to serve a purpose. And everybody's different. And there was one thing that I got out of this was that through diversity, you got all these different looking people, different people with different abilities. Through diversity, you have equality. So unlike the X-Men, where you've got all these mutants and they're kind of outed because they're different and they just have random abilities, in Inhumans their abilities do serve the society structure that they live in. So it's really quite a clever thing to have, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they do it in the film. But like I said, Kevin Feige kind of spoke about that back in October when they announced the Phase 3 lineup. So let's just play a quick clip from that just to answer part of your question.
November 2nd, 2018 introduces not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but dozens of new heroes into the cinematic universe. It will be our 20th film. It seemed time to open the floodgates a little bit wider. Can be a franchise and perhaps series of franchises onto themselves. They are the Inhumans. They have dozens of different power bases. They have an amazing social structure in which you go through these terrigen mists and you don't know what you're going to become on the other side, which gives amazing character drama that we love to play with, and tons of spectacular new powers, new effects. With the 20th movie, it felt time to continue to further refine and further expand what the cinematic universe is all about.
So there you have it. That's from the horse's mouth. And like I say, I couldn't agree more when he was talking about the great structure that they've got, the great society thing that they've got going on. But yeah, definitely recommend this anyway. Like I say, it's from the Marvel Knights collection. It's fairly cheap and it's just called Inhumans. It looks like that on a shelf. So one thing that I've heard as well, the casting of this would be quite interesting because this character's called Black Bolt and he's kind of like the main guy. And his kind of weird thing is that his voice is so powerful If he whispers, it can like level mountains. That's kind of imagine having that weird power. So he doesn't talk basically, and he's quite a big guy. And apparently, I don't know how true this is, but Vin Diesel, the actor, has expressed interest in playing this character. And I know some of the fans have said that as well. Now that would be really interesting because Vin Diesel has already been in the film Guardians of the Galaxy, and he played Groot. So basically, he was a voice actor with no physical presence, I guess, in the film. Whereas if he was this, he would be a physical presence with no voice in the film. So that would really be interesting. Kind of weird if they did that. But I'm all for that casting decision if that's what they decide to go along with. That's part of your question about the Inhumans. Now, you did actually ask as well. Let me just kind of just get in front of me what you asked regarding Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, because you said given that they can't be called mutants and that they were experimented on and enhanced by man, and that it's not a genetic thing as we saw in the X-Men. Would they possibly be Inhumans? Now, that is a good point. I don't know if you've thought that up yourself, but a lot of the people have been saying that, basically, because obviously, for reasons I'm not going to go into, I'm sure you're already aware, we can't have X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this moment in time, so we can't give the origins of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch as mutants in any way, really, because there'll be a court case. So it's been suggested that they may be Inhumans, that they may just say, well, they were Inhumans, and they were kind of, instead of going through the Terrigen Mist, as they call it, they were kind of genetically experimented on and then became Inhumans. Now, this is something as well that hasn't just been pulled out of a hat. That's sort of what we saw in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series. Like I say, they introduced the Inhumans in that. Doesn't really represent what we see in the comics. We have an Inhuman called Quake, which from what I understand isn't an Inhuman, but they're kind of suggested in the series that she is an Inhuman, and they've been called Inhumans as well. That's the label they've been given. Now, I've said this before, I don't know quite how significant Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be in the scheme of things with the films, because at this moment in time it is insignificant in terms of the films. What happens in the series does not impact on the movies. Don't get me wrong, what happens in the movies impacts on the series. We see characters from the movies put into the characters from the movies put into the series, but we don't see it the other way around. We haven't seen Sky, also known as Quake, in the movies. We haven't seen Fitz and Simmons in the movies. We've just seen movie characters in the series. So if they do have the Inhumans from the series, as established in the series, put in the films at a later date, granted it's going to be years before we see an Inhumans film, 2019, so that's 4 years away. But if we see those Inhumans as depicted in the series, then in the films, we will know that this series is definitely canon with the movies. So that's quite interesting, really, how that's going to work out. So I think that pretty much answers your question anyway. Like I say, there's this theory that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are not mutants. Well, we know they're not mutants, but that they are going to be Inhumans instead. So it's really going to be interesting to see if they kind of play on that in the movies. I mean, obviously, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Avengers Age of Ultron, turn this off. Obviously, Quicksilver passed away in the last film, so his character's kind of not really going to be visited back again. But Scarlet Witch, on the other hand, she's a significant character, so we may get into her origin a little bit more. I'm going to leave it there anyway. I hope that answers your question. So if you want to contribute to Brand X Reviews mailbag, feel free to do so. You can visit us on Instagram, Twitter, the website. There's a lot of information coming up basically on how you can do all this. So if you've got a submission, you want to see me talk or the core talk about anything, just leave something at Brand X Reviews and we will do so. So thanks Paul for the submission, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just so you know, for more news, reviews and retrospectives, you can like our page on Facebook, simply called Brand X Reviews. But as well as that, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube via this video. You can also bookmark our website, which is brandxreviews.com, which is pretty much a central hub for everything that I've just mentioned. So check that out and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.